For our episode on endangered heritage and protecting heritage in the Philippines, we talked to Ivan Henares, assistant professor from the Asian Institute of Tourism, UP Diliman, and a heritage policy researcher. Here is our full interview.
Yes, I'm Ivan Henares. I'm an assistant professor at the University of the Philippines.
We're going to talk about heritage issues in the Philippines, particularly heritage and politics. And let's hit the ground running with our questions today. First, aware tayo na mahirap i-mainstream ang preservation of heritage in the Philippines, or mismo siguro yung heritage concept kasi mahirap siyang i-grasp ng regular or ordinary everyday Filipino. Hindi nila maunawaan kung para saan ba ito, bakit kailangan protektahan ng ating heritage. So para sa'yo, Ivan, how would you introduce the concept of heritage to a general audience in a way that they understand that it is important?
Alam mo yung heritage, no? Lagi na may laging may tanong na ano ba yan, nakakain ba yan, no? Is that something that can bring food on the table, no? And while it parang syempre for the ordinary Filipino, what's in it for them, no? When we preserve our heritage, no? Unang-una, heritage, no, is basically how do I say, on the conceptual level, no, this is basically preserving the soul of the nation, no. We're trying to strengthen our identity as a country, no, so that with all the pressures of globalization and as you can see, we've had a lot of foreign influences here in the Philippines, no. We're still able to showcase kung ano yung atin, no, what is truly Filipino. One, no, they always say na ano yan, Spanish colonial period yan, why are we, or panahon ng Espanyol yan, why are we preserving it? We have to remember that much of the heritage that we are preserving from the colonial periods are actually Filipino, no? Ang bahay na bato, hindi yan bahay ng Kastila, no? Those are Filipino homes, no? That's Filipino architecture that was built during the Spanish colonial period. In other words, pumunta ka sa Espanya, hindi mo mahahanap yung mga bahay na bato, no? Because that is genuinely Filipino, no? You will never find those types of houses in Spain, no? These are houses especially built from the design, no, of the Bahay Kubo, and of course it's architecture that was built for a tropical climate, no? Same thing for the American period, no? That is Filipino architecture that was built during the American colonial period, no. So napakahalaga na mapreserba natin ito kasi ito ay contribution natin dun sa global narrative, no. Bahagi yan ng global narrative, the Filipino contribution to the global narrative. At the same time, sinasabi nila, ano yan, ang heritage, ano yan, para lang sa mayaman yan, ano, mga upper class, no? But you have to remember also that there are things such as industrial heritage, no, na kasama din ang lahat ng working class Filipinos, no, have that is also part of their heritage. Vernacular architecture is also part of the heritage of, especially for IP groups, no. So while some people may feel na ay hindi namin heritage yan, pero ano yan kumbaga hindi naman lahat ng heritage sa bansa personally involved ka, di ba? Kanya-kanyang contribution yan ito heritage ng Ilocos, ito heritage ng Pampanga, ito heritage ng Bulacan, ng Quezon, no, ng Negros, ng Cebu, no, ng Mindanao, lalo na ng Bangsamoro, no. Kanya-kanya tayong mga aspeto na pinag-iisa natin as part of the heritage of the Philippines, no. So what's in it for the ordinary Filipino? Marami, no. Number one, syempre lumalakas yung identity natin, no, as Filipinos, no. We basically are able to understand, no, what is ours, no, what is truly ours as a country. At the same time, makakatulong ito lalo na kapag pinasok natin ang heritage tourism, ang cultural tourism, no. As we can see in many, wag na tayong lumayo, no, sa Pilipinas, sa Bigan, no. How they've been able to harness, no, their built heritage for tourism development at maraming kumikita doon, no? Yung mga kutsero, no? Yung mga ating mga kalesa drivers, no? Yung mga nagtitinda sa palengke, yung mga nag-weave ng abel blankets, no? Yung gumagawa ng longganisa, ng bibingka, no? And many other things, no? Lahat yan nagbebenepisyo dahil sa built heritage, no? Dahil nga doon sa built heritage, napapadami natin yung bisita natin, no? For tourism, no? Ang nagiging main draw natin ay itong mga lumang bahay, again Filipino architecture, no, built during the Spanish colonial period. Hindi ito architecture ng Kastila, no, arkitektura ito ng mga Pinoy, no, na itayo noong panahon ng ng Kastila, no. And we are able to draw in the crowds, no, and of course that brings in benefits to everybody, no, from the homeowners down to the small entrepreneurs, no, the small and medium enterprises, no, na bahagi nga doon sa tourism, no. So ano yung magagawa ng heritage? Why are we preserving heritage? Maraming level yan, no, from the conceptual to the economic, no, to the social, no. Maraming magagawang benepisyo ang pagpreserba nga ng ating pamana, no, or heritage na tinatawag.
All right. Very interesting ito kasi at the national level, we see na importante siya. Kumbaga, it's our history rendered in stone and concrete and metal at mahalagang pangalagaan. But at the same time, meron siyang very real na gamit, particularly boosting local tourism and economy. So, very good point. Now, next question would be, as someone who has championed the preservation of historical or heritage structures in the Philippines, what makes that work in particular difficult?
Well, one of the challenges really would be how many of our developers, no, see heritage. No, they've always seen it as a difficulty. No, mas gugustuhin pa nilang clean canvas, meaning i-flatten lahat tapos magtatayo sila ng bagong development. Unfortunately, yung mga dinadala nila, yung tinatayo nilang bagong development, kaya-gaya, no, ng ibang bansa, no. The architecture, no, that is being built in new developments, they try to say, European influence, no. I remember may Chinatown Heritage Center sa Binondo. Pagkatingin mo, ay Singapore Chinatown pala yung ginaya nila, no. Hindi siya Philippine Chinatown, no. So anong I mean, who are we trying to fool, no? We pag nakikita mo yung mga marketing na materials nila para sabihin, this is influence of this particular heritage, this is Kapampangan architecture. Pagkatingin mo, teka, wala namang ganito sa Pampanga dati. So who are we trying to fool? No, we are trying to copy yung mga nakikita natin sa ibang bansa tapos sasabihin natin ito yung architecture ng Pinoy, no. I mean, sige, maganda yung architecture ng ibang bansa pero wag na tayong mambola, no, na ito ay Filipino architecture, no, na pinapasok natin. And yun yung sad part, no. Hindi nga natin na-highlight yung sariling atin, ano. Pangalawa, no, mas madali sa kanila na sirain na lang yung mga vista kasi nga ayaw nilang they don't wanna make an effort really to highlight. Like for example, yung Paco train station, tingnan mo yung nangyari, tinakpan ng Skyway. Ang lungkot-lungkot, no? Sana na consider yan noong ginawa yung plano, no? Itong Pasig River Expressway, isa pa to, 'di ba? Tatayuan mo yung mga, 'di ba? Ano yung tsura ng historical bridges natin kapag pinatungan mo ng highway sa taas? Sasabihin nila hindi daw masisira. Come on. Huwag na tayo maglokohan dito, 'di ba? Nakita mo na nga yung Torre de Manila kung ano nagawa niya dun sa Rizal Park. Ito naman Pasig River Expressway. Tatakpan, yun pa lang sa historic bridges pa lang natin magiging itsura. Alangan naman ilagay mo sa ilalim ng tulay, hindi naman magkakasya. Syempre, it's going to be an overhead expressway tapos para siyang expressway na nasa taas mismo ng mga historic bridges natin. Malacanang, ano kaya magiging itsura ng Malacanang, no, kapag naitayo itong Parex, di ba? Itong mga vista na to, I think in particular yung Pasig River, this is something that we should really keep, no? Yung kanyang views, no? Dahil ito, I mean, you go to other countries, no? Wala kang makikita parang Pasig River Expressway dun sa kanilang main historical river. Diba? Nakita mo naman yung ginawa ng ng Skyway dun sa San Juan River, no? Parang kung ano yung itsura nung sa San Juan River, yan yung magiging itsura sa Pasig River, di ba? So, huwag na tayo maglokohan ko ano yung magiging itsura ng Parex. No? So, these are the challenges, no? Many of our developers, no? Talagang parang wala sa kanila ito. Collateral damage for them, no? They really don't put value. They're not willing to spend more money to enhance, no, itong mga because at the end of the day, ano ba sa kanila, syempre silang kikita, pero everyone else nawalan ng kaluluwa, no? Yung their heritage, their soul disappeared underneath the concrete, no? While these developers syempre laughing themselves to the bank, no? Yan, parang yun na yan parang sa kanila, sige, kikita kami kapag preserve namin yan, mas mababawasan yung kita namin, bahala na kayo sa buhay niyo, di ba? That's the sad part there. Our developers who are already very rich, no, are not willing to invest a little bit more to include, no, heritage in their new developments, and that's the sad part. That's the challenge, no, that we need to. DPWH, isa pa yan, no. It's the same thing, no. Siyempre, ay alam naman natin kung bakit ayaw nilang same thing, mababawasan ng ang economic nila, no? Economic gain nila somehow, no? Kapag gumawa sila ng mga additional plans, no? So I think it's something that we all know. It's something na open secret naman yan how every project meron talagang consideration yan, no? Lalo na sa mga involved dun sa proyekto. Siyempre, kapag pinalitan nila yung plano na yon or ginawa nila ng bago, siyempre, that will entail additional costs. And of course, when it entails additional costs, merong epekto yan sa bottom line. No? So, that's the sad part. No? Biggest challenge. It's really money versus preserving what is the heart and soul of the nation. And we need to really speak up. We really need to kailangan maging vigilant tayo. Hindi dapat natin pinapabayaan na masira, no, itong ng ating bansa, itong pamana ng ating bansa.
All right. Nabanggit mo ron, Ivan, yung issue halimbawa na since we're at by the developers, of course, you mean private and public, even the government itself.
Yes, diba? Even the government. Yes, that's true.
Naalala ko lang, there's this very recent news about the Coangco building of the PLDT, which they would raise to the ground only because kapag lumagpas ng 50 years, protected structure na siya, or if I remember it correctly. And I think that shows a weakness then in the way our heritage laws somehow are protect
the thing about the Coangco building, even if it's not 50 years kasi gawa siya ng isang national artist, no. This is in particular, no. I know that the Ayala Corporation has been trying to get rid of its Nakpil buildings and its Locsin building, sorry, not Nakpil but rather the Lindy Locsin buildings, no. Because yun na nga, nasira na nga nila yung Intercon at saka yung Mandarin Hotel, no. Dumaan sila sa proseso ng NCCA, but I don't know about this. Nasira na rin nila yung Ayala Museum, di ba? Mga napaka-significant works ni Lindy Locsin. I really don't know why we can't consider preserving small parts, no, of Makati's architecture, no. Hindi ba malaki na ang kinita ng Ayala Corporation? Kailangan po ba lang sana naman incorporate naman nila ito sa kanilang business district, no, as a part of the historical fabric and the story, no, of the of the Makati Business District. No? Napaka-importanting bahagi ito ng Makati Business District. No? Bakit kailangan pa nating sirain? At mukhang maayos naman ang negosyo sa Makati. So maybe this is one aspect. No, of course they will go through that process. They will go through that process of the listing, and we appreciate that. No, na dumadaan sila doon sa tamang proseso, hindi yung basta-basta ginigiba lang nila. No, but of course there will be a lot of people who will be writing in opposition to it dahil napakahalaga nga nitong mga disenyo ni Leandro Locsin, no, doon sa Makati, no? At marami siyang ginawa dyan. Unfortunately, unti-unting nababawasan ang mga gawa ni Locsin, no, doon sa Makati. At sana kung meron man, in fact, we were trying to propose some how to incorporate the Mandarin Hotel into the new development. Baka pa lang pwedeng gawa ng paraan din na ma-incorporate itong building na ito doon sa bagong gusali na itatayo nila. I'm sure kaya nilang magawa yan if konting syempre mababawasan ng konting income yan. At contribution na nila ito sa bansa natin, di ba? I'm sure that they can make an exception here to make this part of their development, their new development.
All right. Naisip ko lang, it's for developers, it's really easy to just destroy things and build from scratch, no? And would it also be very expensive to preserve structures, retrofit halimbawa, make sure it's still sound, or I think isa sa mga naririnig ko lagi when it comes to heritage preservation, conservation, yung adaptive reuse. Can you tell us about that?
Well, the Australian example is proof of success stories. No? In fact, if you read yung kanilang mga literature, may mga PDF files yan online. You Google it, adaptive reuse PDF. Karamihan dyan lalabas Australia. No? And in their literature about adaptive reuse, they say that demolishing a building is a very wasteful process. No? We are wasting resources, na nakakaapekto ito sa environment, no? And they say that preserving and retrofitting a building is actually much better than demolishing it. And if we use the success stories in Australia, in fact, if you download these PDF files, you will see actual buildings that they retrofitted, actual historic structures, particularly industrial structures na retrofit nila for adaptive reuse, no? And you can see that it's actually a very good proposition. You are able to preserve the identity and the character of the place kasi ngayon puro glass na lang ang nakikita natin. I mean, you can incorporate these glass structures with the old structures. Just look at those examples that they've been doing in Australia. Makikita mo napakadaming adaptive reuse PDF, lalabas lahat ng mga files ng Australia when it comes to adaptive reuse and how it's been very beneficial for their country, no, to preserve heritage rather than demolish it, no. Napakahalaga sa kanila yung proseso na ito, no, para nga ma-preserve yung character ng isang lugar, no. Kasi syempre ang daming mga gusali diyan, kinalakihan na ng mga tao, no? It's part of the historic landscape, the cultural landscape, no, of the place, no. At ito ay sinasama nga nila doon sa narrative, no. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang narrative nung lugar kapag nagkakaroon ng adaptive reuse ng isang structure.
All right. Now, next question would be syempre politics. Yung heritage naman hindi lang siya usapin ng building things. Banggit mo kaya laging may sway din kung sino yung nasa kapangyarihan. Especially in the context of this coming administration, we know that Marcos Sr., at least during the term of Marcos Sr., hindi ako sure kung meron nga ba talagang attention to heritage structures, but we know that may tinatawag nga silang parang edifice complex, di ba, ni Imelda during that time. I mean, that tendency to build things, beautiful structures. Of course, we really can't predict what's going to happen, but what can you say about the coming administration, perhaps how should it look at heritage in particular? Syempre in light then of the reality na mukhang itutuloy yung build ni Duterte through the next administration. How do you see this impacting heritage preservation in the country? And perhaps you can also talk about how the next national leadership should, or what should they focus on when it comes to heritage issues in the Philippines.
Yes, one thing we have to realize is that the incoming administration is actually the first majority elected administration, no, since the 1987 Constitution, if I'm not mistaken. No? This is the first majority elected administration, and I think that they should use um, this how do I say this mandate, no, to really focus on the truth. No, I think they have nothing else to prove anymore. Nandiyan na sila. No, and it's very important that we really highlight the true stories. No, I do remember that during the first Marcos administration, no, may mga structures na naiba, no. Naiba yung kwento na nadagdagan ng nadagdagan ng konting. Like for example, ang vegan hindi naman yan puti dati, di ba? Pero naging puti yan because of preference, no, of the administration to have all the houses whitewashed, no? But they were very colorful homes at the time, no? And originally they were very colorful, no? So I think it's really and of course yung Marcos house din sa Sarat, no? Medyo lumaki ng konti yon, no? Hindi naman siya ganun originally, no? So there are, I think we just have to I mean, magandang natin, balikan natin yung mga narratives na yan. You know, you don't have to sugarcoat them anymore, no? Kung ano yung katotohanan, ilagay natin doon sa sa kwento. Kasi nga maganda na yung okay, it's kumbaga you already have that historic mandate, no? It's really putting in the truth already. Kung ano yung totoo. Of course, marami tayong mga incidents, no, from martial law. We really need to keep those narratives accurate, no. At the same time, we also have a lot of architecture, no, during the Marcos administration, no, and we have to realize na maraming mga monumental architecture na nagawa ng panahon yun, ano. And we have to celebrate that particular fact, no, lalo na yung mga yung CCP complex, again, no, another Leandro Locsin, no. But of course, we also talk about what happened dun sa film center, no. Hindi naman natin kakalimutan yung kwento na yun. Hanggang ngayon syempre hindi pa nagagamit yung film center, no. So what these things, no, have to be, we have to face the truth when it comes to that. And I think that now that they have that mandate, no, magandang linisin na natin yung katotohanan na yan, no, na para there's nothing to hide anymore, and we can focus on that as part of healing, no, between both sides, no. I think that would be really the best move forward, no, para matugunan nga natin itong and of course yung build, no, again, no. Nung ginawa yung first LRT natin, yung LRT1, na one of the buildings na tinamaan dyan, yung ice plant, no, yung Manila Ice Plant, no, which was a very important part of Manila's heritage, no, na it survived the Second World War, no, and naging I mean, sayang, no. Pwede naman siyang now that we are more aware, mas mulat tayo sa kahalagahan ng built heritage and heritage conservation. I think it's very important really to start, considering these important structures when we talk about public infrastructure, no. I mean, kung may matatamaan man, kailangan kasama yan sa studies na gagawin for public infrastructure. In fact, kasama talaga siya sa batas. Kaya lang, alam mo naman ng mga engineers natin, especially on the regional level, no, pilit nilang kinakalimutan yung aspeto na ito as part of the planning. No? Kaya pagka ginagawa na yung proyekto, doon pa lang nakikita ay may tatamaan pala. No? Pero if at the start of the project pa lang ay hindi tinignan na yung impacts, no, heritage impact, tinatawag nga diyan heritage impact assessment, no. If we are to assess already the impacts on heritage, syempre mabibigyan pansin na yung mga proyekto na yan, tulad na lang ng yung Binondo Intramuros Bridge, no. Ang laki-laki ng impact niyan, no, doon sa historic fabric ng Intramuros, no? Tapos mga estero ng Binondo pinatungan pa nila diyan sa bridge na yan, no. There could have been other better ways. In fact, bakit hindi tayo gumagawa ng tunnel, no? Pwede naman gumawa ng tunnel across the Pasig River. Siyempre, mas madali gumawa ng bridge na papatong mo lang, no? But these are things that should be considered, no? Kumbaga parang dinaan sa sa lighting sa gabi para sabihin ng tao, uy, ganda-ganda. Pero hindi na nare-realize that the historic fabric was affected talaga, no, doon sa lugar. So, napakahalaga na tignan talaga. Hindi lang yung parang hindi lang ay ang ganda-ganda nilagyan ng bridge na may magandang ilaw at magandang design, no. Pero but that was a very sensitive area, no, kung saan tinayo yung bridge na yan. And these are things that have to be considered for future infrastructure projects.
Yeah, I think I resonate with what you said about heritage not being just about beautiful structures, no. Kumbaga dapat yung katotohanan ay lalabas from heritage itself, kasi hindi lang naman din talaga siya, it's not just about staying true to what the structure is, but because it also represents a part of our narrative, no, a part of our identity. And perhaps we can end with that note. But before we end this conversation, Ivan, of course, if you have anything to say, where can our followers, listeners, maybe follow you, where they can find you online, or maybe you want to promote something, a coming project or anything?
Well, medyo mas less ang aking dahil nga especially when I was doing my PhD, medyo nabawasan ang aking online presence, no. But I'm still active somehow, no, on Instagram. My Instagram account's Ivan Henares. My Facebook page is also Ivan Henares, no. Right now we're working on the sugar heritage landscape of Western Visayas, no? So may sugar heritage trail kaming ginagawa diyan. And of course, we are doing many other projects, no, doon sa iba't ibang lugar sa Pilipinas. With regard, actually very focused kami on community, no. The development of heritage conservation and cultural tourism, no, through the community. So dapat community-based tayo, no, para ang nagbebenepisyo, no, sa heritage, no, ay ang community mismo. So that's something that we are trying to do in different parts. No? May mga proyekto tayo, and we hope to really highlight that in the coming months and years.
We would like to thank Ivan for generously lending us his time and expertise in guesting in this episode of Hindi na Bago Yan. Watch out for our last episode next week. For updates on the show, like, subscribe, or follow our social media pages. That's it for now. Have a good day.